Your vehicle drove up the side of Jessica Lloyd's house. Your boots walked to the back of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January. Okay, you want discretion. We need to have some honesty, okay? Because this is getting out of control really fast, Russell. Okay, really, really fast. This is getting beyond my control. All right, I came in here a few hours ago and I called you the way I called you today because I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. But you and I both know you were at Jessica Lloyd's house, and I need to know why.
Jessica Lloyd was a well-known 27-year-old. She had a close family and a tight circle of friends who truly loved her. She was bright, warm, and full of life. She enjoyed nothing more than hanging out and spending time with the people she cared about. Her brother described her as lively and outgoing, the kind of person who could walk into a room full of strangers and walk out with new best friends. She lived alone in Ontario, just off Highway 37, in a house set back from the road. She was just a normal woman in her 20s, with her whole life still ahead of her. On January 28, 2010, Jessica sent a text to a friend, wishing them good night. She said she needed to sleep early because she had worked the next day. But the next morning, something was wrong. Her mother found out Jessica never showed up for work. That wasn't like her at all. Jessica was reliable. She wouldn't just fail to show up without a reason. Worried, her mother called Andy Lloyd, Jessica's brother. When he said he hadn't heard from her either, things got serious fast. Something felt off. Andy didn't waste time. He drove straight to Jessica's house off Highway 37. When he got there, everything looked normal. Nothing seemed out of place. Her ID was exactly where she left it. Her keys hadn't been touched. It was like she had just vanished. That's when Andy called 911. Police arrived quickly, but they were just as confused. Jessica had disappeared without a trace. They searched her home, looking for anything that could explain where she went. But there was nothing. No clear signs. No struggle. Nothing obvious. Word of Jessica's disappearance spread quickly. As emergency vehicles gathered around her home, two local men remembered something strange from a night before. They had been driving down Highway 37, passing right by Jessica's house. That's when they noticed an SUV parked in a field behind her home. It didn't sit right with them. They immediately thought it could be connected, so they went straight to the police. Canadian winters are harsh, brutally cold. Temperatures drop hard, and snow can cover everything for months. But this time, that cold worked in the police's favor. Because of the freezing conditions, tire tracks and boot prints in the field were perfectly preserved. The exact spot where the men saw the SUV. The evidence was still there, untouched. Finally, the police had something to work with. The Ontario Provincial Police set up roadblocks and started checking vehicles across the area, searching for tires that matched the tracks. Car after car passed through, but nothing matched. No luck. Then, on February 4th, Colonel Russell Williams was driving his Nissan Pathfinder along Highway 37. He was pulled over for a routine tire check. After a quick inspection, he was allowed to leave. But what he didn't realize from that moment on, the police were watching him as they were investigating the disappearance of Jessica Lloyd. The police were also trying to find the culprit behind a string of disturbing and bizarre cases. Tweed, Ontario, is midway between Toronto and Ottawa. It's small, with a population of just over 5,000 people, but it's friendly, safe, and has a close-knit community. Beginning in 2007, Tweed would be the epicenter of a series of break-ins and burglaries. Over the next few years, in January 2009, a family returned from a trip to Toronto. Their teenage daughter went upstairs to unpack and noticed that her underwear had gone from her drawers. Her bathing suits had disappeared, and photos of her had been removed from the family albums. The police were able to find a DNA sample in her bedroom, and the family's life would be forever changed. Their daughter was not allowed to go anywhere by herself, and she felt unsafe being in her own bedroom. Larry Jones was a resident of Tweed. He lived on Cozy Cove Lane and was an active member of the community, loving nothing more than going hunting and taking long walks in the area. One day, he received a panic call from his daughter saying that she had disturbed an intruder inside her home. No matter what the police tried, the break-ins kept happening, but they would soon take a far more frightening turn. On September 17th, a young mother was asleep with her baby. She was awoken by an intruder who, over the course of the next few hours, would subject her to a horrific and prolonged sexual assault, leaving her terrified and traumatized. Soon, another woman would be attacked in nearly identical circumstances. She was awoken by a man who tied her up and attacked her over the next 2.5 hours. She asked if he was going to kill her, and he replied, saying there was no need for that. She recognized his voice, but couldn't work out why. She would later guess that it was the voice of Larry Jones. The police were quick to arrest Larry, believing they had their suspect in custody. The police searched his home, interrogated him for hours, took his DNA, and made him take a 3-hour-long polygraph test. After weeks of follow-up, they told him he was no longer a suspect. The investigators were back to square one. On the road from Tweed to Belleville stands an old farmhouse. In November, the resident arrived home to get ready for her birthday party. Upon entering her bedroom, she noticed that her bedside drawers were open and some personal items were missing. Her neighbor arrived to take her to the party, and they debated calling the police but ultimately decided against it. Before they left, they checked that the kitchen door was bolted. When she arrived home the next day, she went upstairs to use her photocopier, and her neighbor heard her screaming. Her old computer, which she rarely used, had been turned on, and the screensaver had been disabled. In large letters, someone had typed, "Go ahead, call the police." Whoever had left the note had been hiding in the house the day before, when she thought she was alone getting ready for a party. They had unlocked the kitchen door and gone out the back. Her drawers had once again been emptied. The break-in was investigated by the Belleville police. They were unaware of the events going on in Tweed. During 2008 and 2009, there were 34 break-ins and break-in attempts in the area. Not far from Tweed is CFB Trenton, one of Canada's most important military bases. It has over 4,000 men and women assigned there, and in July 2009, Colonel Russell Williams took command. During his youth, he was a notorious prankster who was popular amongst his friendship group. Despite his outward confidence, he never spoke about himself or his background. He was a child of divorce who spent most of his time in boarding school and, as a result, had little contact with his family. During his time as a student, he only had one girlfriend, but the relationship ended acrimoniously and Williams was heartbroken. He remained single for the rest of his 20s before he married his wife, Mary Elizabeth. Despite studying economics at university, he decided he needed a change and joined the Air Force. He quickly rose up the ranks and was a model officer. His colleagues said he was incredibly bright, extremely methodical, and unusually calm. While he had living quarters on the base, he and his wife owned a property in Tweed, which they had purchased 5 years before. To get to it, they had to drive down Highway 37. Their idyllic cottage was on Cozy Cove Lane, next door to Larry Jones. A few months before Jessica went missing, he'd asked Larry where he liked to go hunting. Larry explained he usually went to the wooded area where East Hungerford and Cary Road met. His wife lived mostly in Orleans and worked in Ottawa as a charity executive, so he was often at the cottage by himself. As part of his job in the military, he would fly transport planes to natural disasters and war zones alongside flying high-ranking officials and prominent figures. He was even in charge of the flights for Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip during their state visit to Canada in 2005. One of his fellow officers based at Trenton was Corporal Marie-France Comeau. In contrast with the order and discipline of military life, Marie-France was a free spirit, very artistic and bohemian. In 2009, a few months before Jessica Lloyd vanished, Marie-France arrived home from flying with Prime Minister Stephen Harper during his visit to the Far East. She excitedly told her ex-boyfriend that she had flown around the world. 3 days later, people grew concerned as they hadn't heard from her. When the police went to check her home, they found her body. As the death had been caused by strangulation, it was initially ruled a suicide, but this was quickly changed to murder. Marie Fran's distraught family received a letter of condolence from the Trenton commander, Colonel Russell Williams. On February 7th, for days after his car had been stopped by the police, Williams was at the new house that he and his wife had recently moved into when he got a call from investigators. They wanted to know if he could come down to the station to answer some questions. When Williams left, he told his wife he'd be back for dinner. That Sunday, just before 3 p.m., he arrived at Ottawa Police Service headquarters. Leading the interview was Detective Sergeant Jim Smith, a veteran of the Behavioral Sciences Unit with a wealth of knowledge and experience. Detective Sergeant Smith knew he would have to call upon all his skill and patience in order to get Williams to talk.
And again, like I said, this interview is going to be very thorough. But again, I have a simple rule when I talk to people. It's I'm sure you're the same way. I treat everybody with respect. I don't want to ask you to do the same for me. You're obviously not under arrest here today. Okay. Yeah. Anytime you feel you want to leave here, you feel free to do so. The door's not locked. Teresa will walk you down the lobby anytime you want. Okay.
Smith made sure to make it clear to Russell that it was not just the disappearance of Jessica Lloyd they were looking at, but also the death of Marie France Comeau and the 2 sexual assaults in Tweed, and that they were also aware of his connection to the victims.
Over the past about 4 or 5 months, there have been 4 occurrences that, like I said, that we're looking into. 2 of those occurrences occurred in September of 2009, and very briefly, they were up in the Tweed area. They involved somebody entering 2 different women's houses in the evening hours and committing sexual acts. Okay. In November of 2009, a young lady by the name of Marie France Comeau was found murdered in her home in Brighton. And we believe that there was a sexual component to that crime as well. And then most recently we have Jessica Lloyd's disappearance. Okay. And so what I want to make sure you understand, and this is what we've been doing with everybody we've been talking to, is that clearly when we find out who's responsible for one or all of those crimes, they could be charged with one or all of those offenses, okay, whether it's you or whether it's anybody else. Right?
Smith soon took the conversation back to the death of Corporal Marie France Comeau and Williams' connection to her.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to walk you through November, but I'm going to take you to a date that's probably pretty fresh in your mind, the day that Marie France Comeau. Do you remember how you found out?
I do. Yeah, I was sent an email. Well, as soon as the ops staff and the base learned, they told me.
And how did you know Marie France Comeau?
I'd only met her once. She was on a crew I was on just after I got to the base. Okay.
Now, you got that email notifying you that something had happened. Do you have any kind of a clear recollection as to how your schedule was going that week?
Well, I can't remember what day that the message came in. Just a second. No, I can't remember what day of the week, but I just think there was a whole bunch of activity spun up as a result, obviously. No, I can't remember the day of the week.
Smith knew the evidence linking Williams to these unsolved crimes would continue to mount, and so put the pressure on Williams to provide them with more.
What would you be willing to give me today to help me move past you in this investigation?
What do you need?
Well, would you be willing to supply things like fingerprints, blood samples, things like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Footwear impressions?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's what we're gonna ask you to do.
Okay.
All right.
Can I assume you're going to be discreet?
It's possible. Yeah.
Because this would have a very significant impact on the base if they thought you thought I did this.
This is a significant investigation, as you can well imagine.
Yeah.
That DNA is going to be significant in our investigation, both quite possibly to help you, quite possibly to help us.
Understood.
Is there any contact that you may have had with any of those 4 women that you may not want your wife to be aware of, anything like that that we should know about to try and explain why, if your DNA is found, it would help us understand why it may be there?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Can you think of any reason why we would find your DNA in any of those residences? Let's focus on, well, for instance, I believe, let me just check the name there, make sure I've got the right address. I'm talking about the house that was just a couple of doors down from you there in Tweed. Ever been in her house?
No.
And that's what I'm getting at. If you were ever in Laurie's residence, quite possibly, quite innocently, your DNA could be in that residence. Has there ever been a time you've been in there?
No.
What about the other lady down the road on...
I hadn't even heard that name, so no, I don't actually know who that was.
Okay. Have you ever visited Marie France Como at her residence?
No.
Okay. All right. So you're quite positive there would be no reason why your DNA would be in any
Absolutely.
of those 3 locations? Okay. Did you know Jessica Lloyd, even in passing, for any reason?
No, I didn't hear her name till it was on the news.
Turning up the pressure again, Detective Sergeant Smith brought up a piece of evidence that Williams couldn't ignore: the tire tracks outside Jessica Lloyd's house.
The tires that you have on your truck, right? The reason I asked you about that is there any time, I mean, you recall where you were stopped by the officers there?
Yes.
Okay. Did they explain to you what the significance
So
of
that was her house?
That was her house,
Yeah.
okay. Would it surprise you to know that when the CSI officers were looking around her property, that they identified a set of tire tracks to the north of her property? Looks as if the vehicle left the road and drove along the north tree line of Jessica Lloyd's property. Okay. They took, they examined those tire tracks, and they have contacts in the tire business. Obviously, tire tracks are a major source of evidence for us.
Sure.
Shortly after this investigation started, they identified those tires as the same tires on your Pathfinder.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Your Pathfinder's wheelbase width is very, very close to the width of the tires that were left in that field. Okay. Do you have any recollection at all of being off that road?
I was not off the road, no.
Okay.
After this, it was time for Russell Williams to submit his DNA, fingerprints, and footwear impressions, and it was here that he made a fatal mistake.
I told you when I came in here that I'm going to treat you with respect, and I've asked you to do the same for me. We talked about the whole idea of how we've approached you here, okay? The trying to be as discreet as possible, okay? But the problem is, Russell, is every time I walk out of this room, there's another issue that comes up, okay? And it's not issues that point away from you, it's issues that point at you, okay? And I want you to see what I mean, all right? This is the footwear impression of the person who approached the rear of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January.
Yeah.
Okay. Essentially, with footwear impressions, you're in a situation where you're pretty much in the area of fingerprints. Okay. This is a photocopy of the boot that you took off your foot.
Yeah.
Just a little while ago. Okay. You take a look at this print, and again, this is one print. This person walked through. There's several different prints to compare. So we're going to get features off of one print to compare, features off another print to compare.
Yeah.
These are identical. Okay. Your vehicle drove up the side of Jessica Lloyd's house. Your boots walked to the back of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January. Okay. You want discretion. We need to have some honesty, okay? Because this is getting out of control really fast, Russell. Okay, really, really fast. This is getting beyond my control. All right, I came in here a few hours ago, and and I called you the way I called you today because I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I both know you were at Jessica Lloyd's house, and I need to know why. You and I both know they're going to find evidence that links you to these situations. Okay. You and I both know that the unknown offender, male DNA, on Marie France Comeau's body is going to be matched to you. The bottom line is that as soon as we get that piece of evidence that solidifies it, DNA, okay, as soon as the expert in footwear impressions, the expert in tire impressions, calls and says, yes, I've examined those and they're a match, it's all over.
As the pressure on Williams continued to mount, Smith knew it would only be a matter of time before they would have the answers they were looking for.
Is Jessica somewhere we can find her easily? Like, is this something where I can make a call and tell somebody to go to a location and they're going to find her, or is this something where we have to go and take a walk? What's the issue you're struggling with?
It's hard to believe this is happening. I'm struggling with how upset my wife is right now.
This investigation will end up costing no less than $10 million. Easy. And they will say no to nothing. Any request this major case manager makes on this case, they've already been told it's approved. Don't even bother asking. I don't know what else to do to make you understand the impact of what's happening here.
I want to minimize the impact on my wife.
So do I.
So how do we do that?
Well, we start by telling the truth.
Okay.
Okay. So where is she?
You got a map?
Is she close to where she lives? I've got maps of that general area. It's probably the biggest area I have there, Russ.
Yeah, you need more. You need a real map.
So where am I going on here to get to her?
In this block here.
Okay. So you're pointing to...
a detailed map of that area, and I'll show you where she is.
Is it something where is she buried, or is she somewhere where if you walk there you would fairly easily see her?
It's here.
Okay. I'll be right back, okay? Do you want any water or anything?
Sure.
Okay, I'll be right back. How long has she been there for?
A little over a week.
Was it fairly quick from the time she left?
Friday night.
Friday night?
Yep.
So where was she between Thursday night and Friday night?
In Tweed.
With you?
Yep.
How long was she alive for?
Almost 24 hours, not quite.
Okay. Russ? You're doing the right thing here. Well, this might have better parameters for you. Here's Tweed.
.7 kilometer from this intersection on this side of the road.
And what road is that? Cary? South of... Can't read that word. East Hungerford. Does that make sense? How far off the road is she?
40 feet.
If she covered with anything?
She's wrapped up.
In
She's
what?
on the surface. Just a gray something or other cover.
Okay. Barry, the obvious question I'm going to have for you is, when they go there, and they'll be there shortly, they're going to find her?
Oh, yeah.
Finally, they had a confession. Now Russell Williams would relive his crimes in gruesome detail, starting with Jessica Lloyd.
What do you want to talk about?
Because it's pretty wide open now, eh?
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Well, do you want to work forwards or backwards?
Doesn't matter.
Why don't we start with Jessica?
Okay. Well, I saw her in her house on her treadmill. Wednesday night, I guess. Then I noticed she wasn't there Thursday. So I got into the house to look around. Then left. Noticed she'd come home. So I went back in through the back patio door while she was sleeping. So I woke her up. Didn't hit her. She only hit her once. Friday night.
Okay.
Well, so I raped her in her house. And then I took her to the car and took her to Tweed. Spent the day in Tweed. And then I hit her as we were walking. She thought we were leaving. Hit her on the back of the head.
Okay.
Anything in particular?
Well, what did the hit on the back of the head do?
Well, I was surprised that her skull gave way. She was there and immediately unconscious. And I strangled her.
Okay. What did you hit her with?
Flashlight.
Okay. In the house or outside the house?
In the house.
Where in the house did this happen?
In the main portion, just in front of the fireplace.
What do you mean they'll find signs of it?
Oh, there's quite a bit of blood. I hadn't expected. I'd expected to knock her out. But obviously generated a lot of blood.
After talking about what it had done to Jessica Lloyd, Detective Sergeant Smith took Williams back to the previous November, the night that he murdered Corporal Marie France Comeau.
Marie France Como.
There was an open window in the basement of her house when she was away. I went in there a couple of nights before she came home. Looked around. She actually discovered me in the basement. She was trying to get her cat to come upstairs, and the cat was in the basement, had seen me and was fixated on me in the corner. She couldn't get the cat up, so she came downstairs to try and get the cat, and weren't sure why she came over to me. I guess the cat was staring at me, and she was wondering what the cat was staring at. So when she spotted me, I had the same flashlight. I subdued her, tied her up, brought her upstairs, and strangled her later in the morning. Well, more suffocated her. Some tape. Left her there.
How did you subdue her? And when you say subdued her in the basement, what did you do?
She saw me right away, so it was just I hit her a couple of times and around her head, try and knock her out. Didn't, but He was bleeding a little bit.
Any blood from that struggle?
Oh yeah. No, not a whole bunch, but a flashlight did break her skin a couple of times.
Okay. What area of the basement did that take place in?
I was hiding behind the furnace, so she spotted me right there.
Okay. Did she recognize you?
No, I had stuff on my face.
Did she ever recognize you through this whole episode?
No.
Did you take anything out of Marie France's house or Jessica Lloyd's house?
Yeah, some of their underwear. It's in some boxes in the basement here in Ottawa, in that rec room.
Okay. How much underwear is in those boxes?
Probably 60 pieces or so. Total.
All women's?
Yeah, 60 pieces of theirs.
Of whose?
Of Jessica's and Marie France.
So you took 60 pieces from between the two of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Does any of the underwear in those boxes belong to anyone other than Marie France or Jessica?
Yeah, there's some from each of the other two women.
Now, Smith took Williams back to where it all began, the two unsolved sexual assaults.
So the first one, I had just spotted her from our boat, actually. I got into the house while she was asleep, noticed that she was alone, and just hit her with my hand while she was sleeping. Subdued her, mostly just my weight on top of her. Had her take off her pajamas, took some pictures, took some of her underwear and left.
And the other woman?
Same kind of deal. She was sleeping in her, not in her bedroom, but in her, in front of the TV. Very much the same story.
Anything different about that story? I mean, pretty much the same story and exactly the same story are two different things, right?
Yeah, no, not much different at all. I did have the flashlight that time. I hit her with a flashlight. Didn't think it would knock her out. Didn't. So, and I subdued her with my weight. Took off her clothes, took some pictures, and left.
Why do you think these things happen?
Oh.
Have you spent much time thinking about that?
About why?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know the answers. And I'm pretty sure the answers don't matter.
Well, let me ask you this: did you like or dislike these women?
I didn't know any of them.
Are you? Well, I mean, let's talk about Jessica because she was there with you for the whole day, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of feelings were you experiencing while you were with her that day?
Oh, she was a very nice girl.
Can you tell me why you killed her?
Well, I think I killed her because I knew that her story would be recognized.
Well, I guess I just have a couple of questions for you. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more questions, but I guess what's on my mind right now, Russ, is what made you decide to tell me this tonight?
Mostly to make my wife's life easier.
Is what you've told me tonight the truth?
Yeah.
How do you feel about what you've done? Like what?
Disappointed.
If this didn't come to the point it's at right now, if for whatever reason you didn't end up on our radar, so to speak, do you think it would have happened again?
I was hoping not, but I can't answer the question.
Colonel Russell Williams walked into Ottawa Police Service headquarters as a respected military officer, a married man, someone people trusted, a model citizen. He walked out in handcuffs, a confessed serial rapist and double murderer. His confession shook all of Canada. When police searched his house on Cozy Cove Lane, they found even more disturbing evidence. Piles of stolen underwear and items he would take with him when he went out hunting for his next victim. On October 18, 2010, Russell Williams pleaded guilty to everything: rape, forced confinement, and murder. He also admitted to 82 separate break-ins. It got even darker. His pedophilic behavior came out too. He admitted to stealing underwear from girls as young as 9 years old. 3 days later, he was sentenced. 2 life sentences for murder, 2 10-year sentences for sexual assault, 2 10-year sentences for forced confinement, and 82 one-year sentences for break-ins. He must serve at least 25 years before he can even be considered for a parole. The Governor-General of Canada stripped him of his rank and medals. He was thrown out of the Canadian Armed Forces. His commission scroll was torn apart. His uniform was burned. His medals were cut into pieces. But none of that fixes the damage. What Russell Williams did left a deep, permanent scar. The families and friends of Jessica Lloyd and Corporal Marie-France Comeau were shattered, broken by grief. And the truth is, the pain he caused doesn't just go away. But one thing is certain: Jessica Lloyd and Corporal Marie-France Comeau will never be forgotten. If you enjoyed this true crime story, don't forget to subscribe to Crimey Pencil for more real and chilling cases. Hit the bell icon so you never miss the next story, because the darkest truths are yet to come.